Yo.
Go for it.
Yo.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I changed my name in the server, but appreciate it.
That's confusing.
Thanks for not skipping over me. Big shout out to everybody making this possible. It's kind of crazy. I never thought I'd get to talk to the man who bought the Wu-Tang Golden album on the Politics Discord, so pretty fucking crazy, man. But I do have a question for you, In our generation, I feel like you'd seldom find a person who's doesn't know the name Martin Shkreli. I feel like you've garnered a very infamous image on the internet, and kind of how you went into detail about this earlier to a majority of the uneducated masses about the pharmaceutical industry. You can easily come off as like a very amoral, profit-driven tyrant. While I don't agree with the sentiment, I do wonder what this portrayal publicly in the media has done to your business relationships, both present, past, and potentially future, and your personal relationships. How has that actually affected you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 80% of the time it's sort of a negative for business. And then 20% of the time it's a positive, where people specifically, maybe they wouldn't have heard of me otherwise, or they specifically think that, what I did or was okay, not just okay, but also maybe a smart thing to do, or they learned about a lot of my other business successes, whatever the case may be. But generally it's a negative thing, obviously. People don't want to affiliate or associate with me. Personally, I'd say it's sort of a net positive. It helped me sort of realize maybe who are the people who are my friends outside of just being my friend for what I could bring to them. Because what I could bring to them sort of declined due to the first question, right? More and more people were not proud to sort of be affiliated with me or whatever. So the people that were sort of my friends were made a little more clear to me. Because they weren't there for just what I could give them. The other benefit obviously was that I got to meet more people, and there's some benefits of fame that are probably somewhat obvious.
Okay, and I guess my other follow-up question for this is as far as I know about your public affairs, majority of what I've come to understand is that your indictment and you going to prison, by and large, had a lot to do with you being a public figure. That there's a very good argument to be made that if you were never green-lighted by the media and you were never made out to be this very large public figure, that you may have never ever would have been indicted or gone to prison in the first place. So I wonder, now that you're out and that you've had time to reflect on all of this, that if you would have done anything different.
Yeah, I mean, I generally do agree with your premise there, as did my attorney, Ben Brafman, who is probably one of the most famous defense attorneys ever. He felt that way, and I'd sort of take his opinion over my own, which is he's certain of that. I'm a little less certain than he is, but I think you're generally right. In terms of doing things differently, I mean, I tend not to kind of look backwards and regret. I'll certainly try to look backwards and learn. I had a sort of pretty particular set of circumstances there where what I did, I might have sort of had to do in a lot of ways, but again, it's hard to look backwards. I mean, maybe I could look back and say my life would have been better off if I never met that drug, and that's probably true after the fact, but it's easy to look back after the fact at things. Looking at it sort of, at the time, could I have engaged in a different thought process that would have led me to better decision making or something like that? Again, it's sort of all retroscope and retrospective and difficult to sort of say for sure. So I don't know how to answer questions like that. It's very tricky.
I get you. It is a very broad question,
yeah,
but I'm glad to hear that you
better.
are coming out of all of this enterprise, that you are still a positive, outlooking person, and that given all the crazy turmoil, that you still seem like you got your level head on you and everything. But one last question: do you still have the Golden album, bro? Or is that?
Well, it's not gold, but it's a secret album or whatever. It's a one of one.
Yeah.
And I have the MP3s for it. The actual physical copy was sold. But the MP3s remain on with me. The person who bought it never sort of bothered to figure out, if I had any digital copies, which was kind of funny.
But the digital copies have never been leaked?
I have not leaked them. I've played them a little bit here and there, but I haven't just uploaded them, no.
Yeah, I get you. Okay. Sick, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Next up, we've got Kingy. Kingy, you are unmuted. Go for it.
Hey, Morgan. Nice to meet you, mate. I'm just wondering, so what exactly happened with you, and how did you and this drug, like, get on the radar?
How do we sort of come to buy it?
Now, how did the media find out about it?
Oh, well, good question. Yeah, so basically, there is, well, a couple different ways. I mean, I'd say that there are always kind of like people within an organization or adjacent to an organization that sort of want to, I don't know if there's a better word for just inform or rat or whatever on what you're doing. And so if somebody especially feels like, you know, somebody's done something wrong, they'll kind of whistleblow, if you will, and tell a reporter and sort of pitch a reporter a story. And people will do this without any tangible benefit to themselves. They'll do it because they think it's the right thing to do, or they don't like somebody, or what have you. And when you have a company with hundreds of people in it and lots of investors, even people who are incentivized not to say anything will sort of talk about it. So that's sort of one thing that'll happen all the time. Even Trump's own people would be leaking, right, to the Washington Post, New York Times, and he was always fixated on who's leaking. I think one should fixate instead on like, well, what are you doing that merits the leak? But you don't want your people leaking, but it makes you question yourself as to, you know, what kind of people are you hiring and what kind of things are you doing that are so bad that people want to leak them. So there's that. There's also like publicly available lists of drug prices. It's not a secret. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know exactly who sort of came up with this story and decided that they wanted to sort of make people aware of it, but you know, it was going to end up sort of happening one way or the other. You can't hide a drug price change.
That's true, but I'm just a bit confused because drug companies buy and sell drugs from different companies all the time, and in a way, they kind of get away with it. But it's completely different story with you and your company.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it was a political year in the sense that the presidential election was underway, and it's funny because I had I had a friend in the Obama administration, and I said, "Gee, you know, I was under fire for all this stuff," and I called my friend and I said, "Gee, you know, I haven't heard Obama or Biden say a single thing about me." He said, "Yeah, Martin, they don't have an election to win, you know, because they already had back-to-back terms." And he said, "They don't care. I talk to those guys all the time. I was in the White House 2 weeks ago. They don't give a shit. You know, they know that the market will correct itself. There'll be a generic. There'll be whatever. Like, there's a lot of systems in place to stop that." But the whole gist of politics is if you can take, and I think there are people, use a name that a lot of people have a visceral reaction to, but there are people like Hitler, which I don't mean to compare our current politicians to him, but there are people like that have mastered the ability of making a boogeyman, right? And like, if you can create a boogeyman, I think Hitler did it with Jews, and you know, politicians do it all the time with other groups of people. If you can make a person so scary and so bad that you want to rally around this politician to stop that person, that's a lot more powerful than saying, well, this is my platform on taxes. This is my platform on... No, my platform is stopping assholes like this. That sounds like something you want to donate to. That sounds like something you might want to vote for. You know, it's a lot easier, your job, to win the election when you can have straw people like that you prop up to fight and to beat. You know, that's like, you know, politics 101. Of course, I don't know anything about politics 101, you know, but over the years, that's something I realized, that when you could put a face on something, the face of corporate greed in America, as Martin Shkreli, the face of whatever, you know, is something that you can think of the face of invading your privacy. Who did everybody just think of? They probably thought of Mark Zuckerberg. The face of, you know, I can pick another one, but you can't pick on like the oil industry, for example, the face of monopolizing and drilling for oil at really high prices. You probably couldn't think of a face. So there's something that like is really important about being able to put a face on something, and it just galvanizes somebody much more easily than without it. So I think that's kind of the answer to that one.